Hi, I'm Caroline Mitchell, Canine Behaviourist at Good Doggy. We all know how awkward and difficult it can be to walk a dog that's pulling on their lead, and it's a problem that lots and lots of people suffer with. It seems to be a bit of a problem that people really struggle to solve. So I want to talk about the various reasons why dogs pull on the lead, and ultimately, how do we fix this? So there are various reasons why a dog might pull on their lead, but really they all boil down to the fact that it works and it's actually rewarding for them. It gets them where they want to go and it helps them achieve their goals. So we're going to talk about three fairly distinct reasons why dogs pull. I'm going to give you a little insight into no pull harnesses and collars and stuff like that, and we'll go through how to actually solve this problem. So the first thing is that as a puppy, it's actually quite instinctive to pull away from something that is holding you back, that's putting pressure on you. So you think about the life of a puppy. They've come from living in their breeder's house. Maybe they've had free rein to move around. Nobody's put any restrictions on them. And then suddenly one day, we add a collar and a lead. And this now has restricted their movement. They've never experienced this before in their lives. They've had boundaries, maybe by fences and crates and dens and things like that, but actually never anything that's been attached to them personally. So when they're puppies and they start to move away from you, and then they suddenly feel this pressure, either from their harness or from their collar, and their instinct is to get away from it. They panic and they want to move away. And that actually just makes things worse. So this is a cycle that they can get into. So they're pulling, they're trying to get away, the situation gets worse. So this leads us on to the second reason why dogs pull on the lead. And that is because they get used to it. So as a puppy, they start to throw themselves around, they're pulling on their leads, they are trying to get away. And during that process, if we don't stop them then, they will gradually just become used to feeling this pressure from their collar or from their harness. This can be made worse because often with a puppy like this, what we try to do is we try to give them some more freedom. So the instinct then is to buy an extendable lead or a stretchy lead. And what this kind of lead does is it normalizes that pressure. And actually what it does is it teaches them that pressure means freedom. Because in order to get further away, in order to investigate what they want to investigate, all they have to do is pull harder on this lead. It will extend out of the handle and they'll get what they want. So actually, over time, they start to see the advantage of pulling on this lead. They become used to it. They become used to feeling that pressure around them. And it's really very rewarding for them. So they just keep on doing it. And of course, it gets them where they want to go. So when they're pulling on the lead, even if they're not using an extendable or a stretchy lead, they feel like it achieves their goal, whether their goal is to get to the park faster. You'll know if your dog is this kind of lead puller because they'll get faster and faster and faster the closer you get to the park. As soon as they see the park coming into view, they'll start to get really excited and pull even harder. Or maybe they're trying to get to something they want to sniff. Maybe they want to pick something up on a walk. And you've got this dog that's scrabbling against the path, trying to get to whatever they want to get to. Maybe they're trying to get to another dog because they want to play or sniff them. They want to meet a person on the walk. So whatever it is that they are thinking about, whatever they're trying to achieve, often pulling on the lead actually gets them there. It achieves their goal. And they've become used to the pressure. So that doesn't become an off-putting element to this anymore. There's no reason for them to stop pulling because this has just become normal. All they're thinking about is achieving their goal. Of course, those examples were relevant to something that the dog wants to get to, but this could work in reverse as well. Maybe they want to get away from something. So perhaps they're scrabbling to get away from something that's frightening them. Maybe they want to get away from another dog. Perhaps they've heard a noise and they're scared and they want to get away. So trying to get away, again, achieves that goal. It makes them feel safer because they're trying to keep themselves protected from something that's maybe scaring them. But whichever direction you look at this from, pulling can be rewarding because it helps them achieve their goal. And this can be a problem for us because while they're achieving their goals, they feel good about that and they want to keep on doing it. So before we go on and talk about how do we solve this problem, how do we stop our dogs from pulling on their leads, we need to look at different kinds of harnesses and collars and things like that. So I want to quickly just talk about these. There's plenty on the market. Often they promise lots of amazing things. And the reason why the ones that do work is because they make it uncomfortable or awkward, or they've changed the way that it feels. So the dog feels that kind of novelty. It's not a pressure that they're used to. So you can get harnesses that come across the front of the chest. A dog's not used to pulling in that kind of way. Usually the pressure comes from behind. They're pulling away from something, but now the pressure is in front. So that feels very novel. And it's not a pressure that they're used to. So that type of harness can work well for that. There's various other kinds like haughty head collars. What that does is it, again, moves where the pressure is coming from to a place the dog's not used to, but also it reduces their strength. They're not very strong to pull against that part of their head. When the harness goes around their body, that's where all their muscle and strength is. So they're able to pull a bit harder. So it kind of undoes that effect a little bit. And there's some others as well, which I'm not going to mention, particularly check collars, prong collars, things like that. Obviously, those products will stop the dog pulling because not only is it now not comfortable, but actually it's starting to cause them pain. And that's not a good thing. Those are not the kind of things that I would advise. But simply moving the way a harness works can be quite effective. But ultimately, whatever it is you decide to use, we need to teach our dog a few things. So let's talk about how we solve this. So to solve this lead pulling, whatever harness it is that you decide to use, we need to address all of those elements at the same time. So we need to stop it working. And in order to stop the pulling being effective and stop it achieving a goal, we need to stop moving. We need to stop our dog moving. Movement is rewarding, so we are going to stop as soon as you feel that pressure starting to build up on the lead. That's the time to stop moving, stop your dog moving, and stop that becoming effective. We don't want to reward them for pulling on their lead, so we need to be very consistent. We need to be very quick to react, because often what can happen is that as soon as you feel the lead start to pull, by the time you've made the decision to stop, you've traveled a few steps. So that's not very useful. We need to be very, very quick and stop that goal from being achieved straight away. Then we need to change the instinctive behavior, which is to pull away. So we need to start to reward loose lead behavior. So you've stopped and now you're going to wait until the lead loosens. And when that happens, you can add a reward. So a clicker is very, very good for this. Clickers are very, very consistent. It means you don't have to be leaning down in front of your dog with a treat. So you don't have to be bent over. Your dog's not following a treat. They're just going to be rewarded for something that they've done naturally. So we're not trying to lure them into a loose lead situation. And actually, that doesn't help. When we help our dogs too much in this situation, they don't actually learn how to loosen the lead themselves. And that's what we need to do. We need to help them instinctively want to loosen that lead, not wait for us to put a treat in front of them or to move them with a lead. We don't need to give them any cues or commands. We're just going to stand and wait. Then they're going to try something new that will loosen the lead, and we're going to reward that. So we're looking for those little happy accidents. And as you go through this process, your dog is going to start to realize that walking on a loose lead is better than walking on a long lead. Not only are you going to give them a treat, but actually you can now start to move again. So they're going to achieve their goal, which is to get to or from something. So whatever it is they're trying to get to, we're going to prevent them as soon as the lead gets tight. But as soon as the lead gets loosened off by their behavior, not ours, then we're going to start to move again and they're going to get their reward. So it's going to feel much better to them to walk on that loose lead. They're going to achieve their goals and they're going to get a reward, which is ultimately what we really want. The trick for this is to be consistent. It is to be very clear in your own mind exactly what constitutes pulling, what pressure feels like. It's keeping the lead exactly the same length. So I don't recommend doing this on a long lead or even on a full length lead. Keeping your dog reasonably close to you will speed this process up because you'll feel that pressure happening much sooner and there's not much room for them to keep walking. So when you have your lead quite short, as soon as you stop, they'll have to stop. If your lead is long, if it's 1.5 meters long, or if it's 10 meters long, they'll just keep on going. So the effect won't be noticeable to them. It will not be clear to them exactly what happened and what went wrong and at what point did it go wrong. When you keep your lead nice and short and you're very alert and aware and you stop straight away, it will be much clearer to them what went wrong and what they need to fix. And on that, going slowly can really help you, because if you're marching along at a normal pace, then your reaction time means that probably you have traveled a few steps before you've actually stopped your dog from walking on that tight lead. And then they'll not be able to pinpoint what went wrong. But when you go very, very slowly, everything happens much slower. You can watch the lead as it starts to tighten. You can actually see when the dog's about to pull on the lead, so you can prepare yourself. So now you are stopping very, very instantly. As soon as that lead tightens, you've stopped and your dog has immediately realized the lead tightening was the bit that went wrong. Again, don't help them. The temptation is to try and move the lead, but you need to feel like you've almost kind of paused yourself on the TV. Whichever position you're in, stay in that position. If your arm is slightly in front of you with the lead, stay exactly like that. So it's only your dog that can control whether you're standing still or whether you're moving. It's only their behavior that can tell them what they need to do to keep their walk going, which is their ultimate goal, plus to achieve their clicks or to get a treat. Using a marker is a really good way of being consistent here as well, because you don't have to constantly be throwing treats down. You can be using your yes command, yes marker, or you can be using your clicker, and that will let them know they've done the right thing, but it allows you to keep going without constantly stopping and giving them treats. So be very, very consistent. Know what you want them to do. And at the start, this is going to be really frustrating for you, because if you try to do this on a normal walk, you're probably not going to go very far. You're going to spend a lot more time standing still than you are moving. So at the very beginning, I suggest you do this as a separate exercise to your walk. Spend 5 minutes a day, separate to your walk, just stopping and starting, stopping and starting. This allows your dog to get used to what it is that you want, how this thing works, how this new game that you're playing works. And then once they're very good at it, introduce it into your walk then. But at that point, there's no going back. You have to be now consistently using it through all of your walks. Your dog knows what to do, so a lot of that frustration will go. You'll be able to make progress. It still probably will be slow progress to start with, but as long as you're very consistent that pulling means stop and loose lead means go, eventually they will come round to this new way of walking because it benefits them. Not only are they achieving their goal, but they're going to get that nice reward from their marker, or if you want to use a treat, from that as well. So be very consistent, very clear about what it is you're trying to achieve, and just maybe keep it simple to a 5-minute session at the start. So our key takeaways here are dogs get used to pulling very quickly, and it's very rewarding for them. They get to achieve their goals by pulling on the lead, and we need to stop that. This is not going to be a fast process. Whichever way you decide to do it, it's going to take time. If your dog is more than 15 or 16 weeks old, this behavior has been repeated and practiced a lot. If you walk your dog for an hour every day even, that's an awful lot of lead pulling, and it's an awful lot of reward for that behavior. So you're not going to turn this around in a 10-minute session. One training class is not going to help. You need to keep going with this. This is going to be a couple of weeks worth of hard work, but it will be so worth it, because you'll be able to walk your dog on that loose lead, and they will know how to loosen the lead. You won't have to do anything. You won't have to give them cues. You won't have to tell them what to do. They'll just instinctively then change the way they feel about their walk, and prefer to walk on a loose lead, which is so much better than teaching them to walk beside you or teach them to look at you or any of those kinds of things. If you're not trying to win any competitions with your dogs walking, this is the way to do it.